name and address for the record, then you have the floor.
Rick Whitted.
Floor is yours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Even though we heard initially something that sounded like it was in our favor, I just want to say that the reason you would see us still get up here is because the most important thing linked to dignity is voice. And so having the opportunity to have a voice to speak out on an issue, as you've heard through our history, we've got you by about 130 years in this area. We do know that history. We haven't had that voice historically. So even though you may think you would do us a favor to say, we agree with you, and I don't know if you will or won't, that doesn't stop the importance of the voice of this community being heard. So we're going to speak our voice. And while you were just expanding, you just happened to stumble upon a hornet's nest here of history that's connected to, for my family, 5 generations of dignity. And that's why we're speaking. So as a 4th generation of a family of 5 generations in this area, I just want to give my voice. And so I'll summarize mine a little bit. To this point in history, the county has built a road through a vibrant, exclusive community around this historical settlement, but it is not built up or developed in this community at all. There are lights, there are sidewalks, there's water, and even sewer services. And you're probably saying that's the city. It doesn't matter who it is to us. Nothing has been done, particularly to this area that has been shrinking through the years. And I'm asking the county to please take notice of a unique piece of its overall history. I'm asking the county and its most senior leaders today to say no to this agenda item. As a member of the historical settlement, we do not want to see this area built out. It is not just land, it's history. And it connects us to an invaluable turning point of American history for my family, for my neighbors, and for African Americans. We are connected here to the post-Civil War Reconstruction area. And this family, this settlement, has a big piece of the Osceola County history. Further, please consider usage of this land in a way that memorializes the history and the heritage of this community, if you're going to use it at all. The families who literally built an area that was only relegated to orange grove and migrant workers years ago. Families whose children played, as you've heard, their background playground was the dump yard. A site that the county leadership at that time thought was acceptable, but today, despite the danger of its existence then and now, don't seem to be aware of it. So, what's my ask? Families like the Pauls and the Scipios, families whose names are on the street signs, the Jones, the Wiggins, the Whitteds, we don't want our voice to be muted in a mad rush for expansion. So the county has taken affirmative step. I read it on your website around diversity and inclusion. I said this at the city meeting. Another word for inclusion is just plain old being a good neighbor. And I'm asking each of you commissioners, we're asking you to be a good neighbor. Act like a good neighbor and acknowledge the history of this area by doing the following. And I really thought about this because the team that was out at the commission meeting, and I must applaud them. They took a moment when they heard the passion and they didn't realize, and they at least were honest to say, we didn't know. We didn't realize. And they asked a question that's about 130 years overdue. What do you need in your community? I don't know if we thought about that, because I can tell you we walked out not believing they really meant it. Y'all really meant it at all. We just didn't. We didn't think you meant it. But I've had time to think about that. So I would say, 1, say no to agenda item number 32. 2, equally develop the historical African-American settlement of Narcoossee with lights, sidewalks, water, and sewer. I built my mom a home about 6-7 years ago. I had to pay $6,000-$7,000 just to get water there. And it was a block and a half down the street. 3, if you're going to do something, at least memorialize this proposed property in question for zoning into an area that brings beauty and significance to the contribution of these families. Something that just remembers and reminds of how good we can still be as a country. And if you did, that would at least be apropos, since you're trying to put up a Narcoossee downtown area, not a block away from it. So we would appreciate you saying no, but I think we appreciate more that you actually allowed a voice to be in the record for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. Whitted.